Howdy y'all to my review of Destination X 2011. I know I said I was going to wait until Monday to combine my Destination X review with my Money in the Bank review, but I decided not to do that since Raw this week gave me a little bit more to talk about with Money in the Bank, so I'll just, save Money in the Bank for next week. And yes, I am going to order Money in the Bank. This Raw clinched it. I don't even need to watch SmackDown to decide whether or not I'm going to watch it because I don't even really care what's going on over there. But Raw definitely got me excited enough just to see the main event, but I'll get to that in a minute. I did film a review of Destination X right after I watched the pay-per-view, but I was drunk and barely coherent, and I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't post this. So here you're getting my more intellectual, sober rendition of explaining what I thought about Destination X. And I gotta be honest, I enjoyed it. It was a good, pretty solid pay-per-view, and it was definitely worth my money. I'm glad I ordered it. It was a good effort from TNA, or Impact Wrestling, and good job, guys. A couple problems. Number one, and I knew this was going to be a problem going into the pay-per-view, they need to get out of the Impact Zone, and I was happy to hear that they're going to start holding one Impact taping a month outside of Orlando, which is an absolute must, and they should definitely move their pay-per-views there as well, because I'm just sick of looking at that place. I don't want to rag on the fans too much, but it's just, they've been there for 7 years, and it's the same 900, 1,000, 1,200 people over and over and over again, and I'm just sick of looking at it, and if they could get out of there permanently, it would be amazing. It actually would have been better. I hear they're holding the Impact tapings in the first arena where they hold the original first Impact show. They should have held Destination X there, because that's where the first X Division title match took place, but whatever. I also didn't feel like the six-sided ring added anything. It was just, it was what I said it would be. It's kind of like the Rumble Pack, where I watch it, and then after a few minutes, I don't even notice it's there. I seem to be the only one that feels that way, but whatever. Some people commented on a couple incidents of slipping on the top rope, and that was true. I don't know if the six-sided ring had anything to do with that, or if that was just bad luck, but it wasn't overly a problem, yeah, six-sided ring, yeah, I don't care. As far as the matches go, the only match I really didn't care for was Douglas Williams' Open Challenge, because, it was a disappointment that it wasn't a major return. I'm sure I was expecting somebody like Jay Lethal, Petey Williams. Homicide was the one I thought it was going to be. And a return would have been nice, and I thought if worse comes to worse, then you just get one of the 12 guys that they got for the X Division tournament. And they brought out this guy. I've already forgotten his name. It was something Haskins. Mike Haskins, Mark Haskins, I don't remember for sure. Comes out, he's from the UK, but he dresses like John Morrison. None of the charisma, and I was like, wow, that's kind of disappointing. But, okay, let's watch the match and see how he does. Dude was nervous, and it didn't come off too well, unfortunately for him. That may have cost him a job in Impact Wrestling, but yeah, that was a disappointment, but everything else was fine. I really like Joe and Kaz as the opener, and based on what happened on Impact and what's been going on in the Bound for Glory series with Joe losing all the time, it makes me wonder, what are they going to do with him in Fortune? Because that's kind of, if there's even a plan there, because it seems like he keeps getting screwed over by Fortune, so I don't know if they want to do something with that or not. But, yeah, I really enjoyed this opener. I thought it was a cool match to start off with. I was a little thrown off when they made this the opener, but then I thought about it. It's like, well, you got an Ultimate X, the four-way contract match, which I thought was probably the best build-up match on the show. Lynn and RVD and AJ and Daniel. So you got like a bunch of big matches. So kicking it off with the least important of the big matches was probably a good idea. So yeah, I enjoyed that match. Great opener. I thought Jen Mee versus EY and Shark Boy, maybe I'm in a minority here, I thought it was kind of funny. I laughed, and I gotta admit, I kind of marked for Curryman a little bit in the backstage segment. Little comedy is fine as long as it's legitimately funny. I'm sure that's not the most spectacular exit for Generation Me, who was released this week. But yeah, it was a fun little match. I was okay with it. No problems. It was filler. It was certainly better than the Douglas Williams match. Then we got the Ultimate X, which I thought was good. Typical Ultimate X. Get your high spots, get your cool little flippy-floppy stuff in there. It was fun. There was no story behind it. I still think the contract match should have been the Ultimate X match, but this was fine. It was great, and it was cool to see Shelley win, and the Guns reunion after the match I thought was kind of cool. But nice little moment. Because it was a shame that Chris Sabin couldn't be on the show. Because he, to me, is one of the greatest X Division champions they've ever had. And for him not to be on this was kind of sucky, but especially due to injury. But yeah, enjoyed the Ultimate X. It was fine. And I'm normally not a big fan of Robbie E. or Shannon Moore, but it was, it was a good match. Then we got Lynn and Rob Van Dam. Very good match. Not as good as their ECW matches, for anybody who's watched those, but for a Legends match, nostalgia match, or whatever, and considering we hadn't seen it in 10 years, it was fun, and I did enjoy this a lot. And Lynn looked great in there. I said it last week, the dude doesn't age, so I was really proud to see Jerry Lynn not disgrace himself, and just, he looks damn good in there. And he looks to me like one of those guys that can go as long as he wants to, as long as he keeps performing like that. Then we got the contract match, which was awesome. A lot of people were saying this stole the show. I tend to agree. Like I said, it was the best built match on the show because they utilized their television to build it up using matches. They set up all 4 guys using really strong performances in matches, and then they did the burn-off match at the pay-per-view. And I got to give the crowd credit. Some of the chants were amazing. I really liked the everybody. Of course, in my drunken state, I started singing along to the Aristocats song, Everybody Wants to Be a Cat, Hallelujah. And there's my Disney nerdism for the day. Not that I do those often anyway, but yeah, this match was great. I thought the action was great, and the fact that there was actually something tangible on the line that gave it a sense of urgency and importance to it. That was great. I was really pulling for Low Key, but they gave it to Austin Aries, who I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not overly impressed with this guy. And I watched his match on Impact this week, and it was just so blah. The guy just, I don't know, he just doesn't do it for me. Especially compared to these guys. Like, Low Key's awesome. And, like, I think he's the best all-around talent in that match. And you want to debate that with me, that's fine. But I think most unique look, most unique presentation, most unique moveset, which that's a problem with some X Division guys, is that they have a hard time differentiating themselves from other guys because a lot of them do the same moves. Low Key's totally unique. Jack Evans, a lot of people I've talked to say that he's a spot monkey, which is probably true, but at least the spots are cool, and he stands out a little bit. Zema Ion is new and isn't bad, so I think he's definitely worth... he probably would have been worth investing in. I wouldn't be surprised if, out of the 3 guys that didn't win, he'll probably get a contract at some point. Maybe not right away, but in the future. But Austin Aries, he's the least remarkable of the 4. He's kind of that... I guess he kind of presents himself as a Benoit type, where he's like, look, I'm not the flashiest guy in the world, I'm just a damn good athlete, and I'm really good in the ring, and that's all that matters. But I just kind of feel like, well, that's kind of AJ's thing, and AJ's got a better presentation, and I just don't, I just don't think the guy stands out. And I guess maybe they picked him, well, they probably picked him from the start, and this whole thing was just a setup to establish him, which is a good idea, but I guess they thought that he was the only one of the 4 that could work as a heel, and they needed a heel, and I don't know. I'm just not impressed with the guy. And the Brainbuster, I've never been a fan of that finisher because it looks too much like a vertical suplex, and it just doesn't look right as a finish to me. But yeah, I wasn't disappointed that Aries won because I kind of knew that it was going to happen, but well, like I said, I could have seen any one of the 4 getting it, but I don't see what the big deal is with him. If anybody can tell me, please let me know. I just don't understand it. But anyway, the match was great. Best part of the show, no question. That definitely signified the all-action, fast-paced, high-risk energy that the X Division is supposed to be all about. Then we got Brian Kendrick versus Abyss, which I enjoyed. It was a good match. And even though the finish was overbooked to all hell, I kind of liked it. It was kind of cool to see the X Division get over on Immortal a little bit, and it was cool to see Kendrick get the celebration and everything. And I mean, again, the finish makes no sense because you have 2 armies storm down to the ring and nobody gets disqualified. But for what it was cool to watch, and it was exciting, and it was cool to see Kendrick get the win. So I enjoyed that more than I thought I would. And AJ and Daniels, I'll say this, and for the Godzilla fans out there, this comparison just works for me because I'm a Godzilla fan, so I'll use it. I said last week that AJ and Daniels, I wasn't a fan of them doing this match, not because the match would be bad, but because I've seen it 100 times, and there's just nothing new they can do. And if I were going to compare that to a Godzilla movie, it would be Godzilla Tokyo SOS. And if you're a Godzilla fan and you haven't seen Tokyo SOS, although if you're a fan, you probably have, bear with me. In that movie, Godzilla fights Mothra and he fights Mechagodzilla. By that point, Godzilla was nearing his 50th anniversary by the time this movie was made, and he had fought Mechagodzilla 100 times. It was more like 5, but it felt like 100 by that point. He'd fought Mothra even more times than that, I think. Off the top of my head, it's probably about even. But it's like, I've seen him fight these guys so many times, and there's nothing new you can do with this. The only new thing they could do would be if Mothra and Mechagodzilla had a fight, and they didn't. They were allies, so it was kind of... I guess it was kind of cool to see them together in the same movie, but as far as Godzilla goes, I mean, him fighting those guys offered nothing new, and that's kind of how I felt about this AJ and Daniels match. It was a good match. Tokyo SOS was a good movie, one of the better movies in the third series for the Godzilla franchise, but AJ and Daniels, they can't match their old stuff because we've seen it all before. We've seen it 100 times. The last time they wrestled each other was less than 2 years ago. And I said the exact same thing when they had their match less than 2 years ago. Look, it was a really good match, but I've seen this before. It's old hat. I mean, there's nothing new they can do here. And this match, unfortunately, had like nothing going for it because there was no real friction between them. And nothing on the line. It wasn't a Bound for Glory series match. It wasn't a title match of any kind. There's just nothing at stake, so it was even more like kind of blasé. Match itself was good, great effort from both guys, great athleticism from both guys, but compared to their old stuff, it's just not going to stand the test of time. Good end of the show, good main event, I'm not bashing it. The only bad thing I can say about it is that it just offers nothing new, and I wish they had done a different main event. My idea, AJ versus Kaz would have been cool. Maybe AJ, Daniels, and Kaz in a 3-way, or if they want to include Joe, AJ, Daniels, Kaz, and Joe in a 4-way. How about a 4-way double elimination match to mimic the first X Division title match to decide who's like the king of the X Division? Because those are, out of the guys they have under contract, those are the top 4 guys in the X Division's history for sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed Destination X. I thought it was a really good show. From what I'm hearing from a lot of people, they seem to agree. Not everybody... I'm not going to sit here and say it was like the greatest pay-per-view of all time. It wasn't, but for what it was a really enjoyable show. And the positive buzz that TNA's gotten from this, I hope will carry into the future. And based on what I've seen in the spoilers and on Impact this week, it looks like they're going to at least continue to focus on the X Division, which is nice. Shelley's going to play a role, which is good, because, without Sabin, he doesn't really have much to do. So, hopefully they have a plan for the X Division. Hopefully they keep that rolling along, because it's really been the best part of the show leading into Destination X. And overall, I mean, Impact Wrestling, again, I watched the show this week, still got problems, but overall, I'm enjoying the show a little bit more. I actually liked the bit they did with Fortune as the clown soldiers. As stupid as that sounds, I thought it actually came off kind of cool. And I have to admit, and this is going to sound totally crazy, even though he's ripping off the Ledger Joker, well... He's more ripping off Jim Carrey. It's the Ledger Joker makeup with Jim Carrey's personality, which is kind of funny. I like the new Sting, and a lot of people are saying it's a ripoff. Kind of true, but so was The Crow, and nobody said anything, and it was like the most over thing in wrestling. And, again, it's an old guy getting focused on, but at least I'll give Sting credit for trying to reinvent himself, because one of my criticisms is, look, it's the veterans doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. Undertaker was able to keep himself fresh for so long, because he kept reinventing himself every so often, over and over and over. He stopped doing that, and he just became all about nostalgia, and now it's like, well, yeah, I'm kind of bored with this now. Even though he's not on TV that much anymore. And Sting, it was getting to be the same thing, only he was on TV all the time. And it's like, I don't think he should be world champion at this point, but maybe they're thinking, look, we're going to start taking Impact on the road, and maybe Angle and Sting are more dependable guys to have as champion. Maybe, I don't know, that's probably was their thought process. But I am enjoying Sting's new character, I will say. I don't know how a lot of other people feel about it. I've heard mixed things, but as far as a performance from him, I think he's doing a really good job. But yeah, that'll lead me into my final hype for Money in the Bank. What they did on Raw this week. And Raw... The start of the show was great. The end of the show was great. Everything else in between was forgettable. I don't even remember what happened. I didn't watch what happened initially, and I kind of went back and tried to fill in the blanks, and it was kind of like, well, they're still blank. I didn't pay attention to what really happened. All I know is that this Cena Punk match, specifically Punk's character, has got me intrigued in this match, and I am going to order the pay-per-view just to see what happens in that match. And very well, it could be the predictable finish. Cena wins, Punk leaves the WWE, and then it's just kind of... I know P.S. Power said in his video that it's just going to be filler for Cena's road to WrestleMania against Rock. And that could very well be the case. But I would hope that if Punk's not coming back, that WWE would learn, hey, we should make our shows more like this. We should pattern our characters more after this style of programming, because Punk has become the most interesting and compelling character in wrestling. And what he did with Vince McMahon in the ring this week was amazing. Again, another awesome promo from an awesome performer. They're doing, and that's what I like to see. It's not like I've talked about it with Mark Henry, and it's kind of, yeah, they're doing cool things with Henry, like throwing Big Show through the cage and shit, but it's with a character that I don't like and a performer that I have no faith in. Again, to tie it into movies, it's like Terminator Salvation. You can do cool things with Sam Worthington, but at the end of the day, he's just a boring, poor man's version of Arnold Schwarzenegger, nowhere near as cool. And I have no faith in the performer, and therefore I have no faith in the character. And he's gonna drag the movie down because of it. And regardless of whatever you do with him on screen. But Punk's, he's the guy that, look, he's a performer that can get it done, and they're doing compelling things with him, and they're letting him be himself, and they presented him in a way that makes me believe that he honestly believes everything that he's doing and saying, and he stands for something, and he feels like a real person, which is more than I can say about, say, John Cena, who is a pandering idiot. Basically, his whole shtick now is, I'm for the people, and I'm here for the people. And, there are large pockets of the audience who don't even like him, so that doesn't really mean anything. They were in his hometown this week, and they still cheered for Punk, which is kind of sad. And, a lot of people, I've heard people debate whether or not Cena should be turned heel. I'm going to say this right now. Cena is a heel. It's not by design, but he is a heel. He doesn't act like a traditional heel. It's like the Austin effect, where he didn't act like a traditional face, but he's the face. Well, Cena doesn't act like a traditional heel, but he's the heel. I guess if I had to compare it to somebody, it would be Kurt Angle circa 2000, only not played with irony. The WWE thinks that this is, like, honest to God, like, the baby face to go with. And the guy, look, people can see through bullshit. And with Cena, we can just listen to his promos, listen to him talk, and he's just a corporate tool. And that's what he is. And I'm not trying to diss the man, John Cena, or anything. I'm just saying this is how the character comes across on TV. He's a corporate tool. He's a one-dimensional shill that's, doesn't really have an honest bone in his body. Like I said, he just goes along with whatever the people say. I said it last week. He's like, oh, I'm going to defend CM Punk even though he ran me down verbally and, cost me a match last week. I'm going to defend him because the people cheered for what he had to say. So I'm going to side with the people. And, again, people can see through bullshit, and Punk is an honest character, and they can try all these things where they have him diss the fans and shit. It's not going to work, because he's honest, and he's, in essence, a more honorable character for it, a more respectable character for having that quality. And Cena, we know he's just a corporate puppet of Vince McMahon. Even with the bit they did where he tried to give up the belt, was just kind of like, really? Like, really, you're going to walk out because he tossed out CM Punk, who's your enemy? I don't know, it just kind of makes him look like a pussy. Either he's a corporate tool or he's a pussy, and those are the two extremes with him. But I'm really excited for this match, mainly because I think it's going to be a one-night stand 2006 type of situation where the crowd is just going to be all over him. And he's going to be like the Antichrist, and Punk is going to get cheered up to the nines, and I think it's going to create a wonderful atmosphere. I hope Punk gets a good... If he is leaving, again, we'll find out either the night of the pay-per-view. Some people are predicting that the Money in the Bank winner will cash in, which I would kind of hate that, because it'll take away from the... this needs to be about Cena and Punk. It's not like when Edge did it in the Elimination Chamber. It was just, 6 guys fighting in a brutal match, and there was really no coherent story. It was just 6 guys thrown into a match. And Edge just kind of stole the show. This needs to be between Punk and Cena, and I hope it stays that way. And I hope Punk gets a good send-off. I know, if he's leaving, I know they did a house show or something where they had him, like, basically put over Cena. It's like, I respect Cena, and and all that stuff. I really hope they don't do that, because that would be really lame. I don't know. If Punk is leaving, Cena wins, obviously. I've already prepared myself for that. But hopefully Punk gets to go out with his head held high, and hopefully the whole thing comes off really well, because I think, again, this match is going to have a great atmosphere to it. And I think what they did on Raw this week, okay, guys, that's how you sell a pay-per-view, okay? A lot of the other shit they've been doing over the last couple of years doesn't work. But what they did on Monday this week, and what they've been doing with this angle, that's a good way to get me excited for a match at a pay-per-view and make me willing to buy your pay-per-view a week after I bought another one. So, yeah, here's hoping Money in the Bank turns out well. I've got high hopes for at least the main event. We'll see how the whole thing turns out. And that is it. You'll get my review of Money in the Bank next week. And later, everybody.